Hello and welcome to our next video lecture, which is the continuation of our previous lecture on objectives of communication. In the last lecture, we discussed information and motivation, the two important objectives of communication, right? In this lecture, we'll discuss the next three important objectives of communication. So let us begin with the next objective of communication, which, as you can see on the screen, is raising morale. We all know that in a war or in a team game, it is often noticed that it is not about the number of soldiers or players that matters, but it is their spirit and frame of mind that makes the difference between losing and winning. This morale is the spirit or confidence with which the employee works in an organization at individual as well as collective level. When employee morale is high, maximum performance can be seen, and if it is low, performance too declines. Now one might get confused with motivation and morale because they definitely seem to be related, and they are actually related concepts. But the major difference between the two is that, as we have seen, motivation is the inner drive which makes the employee attain their maximum potential, and morale means the individual as well as the collective spirit and frame of mind which helps the organization to achieve its goal. Thus, motivation works at an individual level, and morale, as you can see on your screen, is a group concept. So, raising morale means creating, maintaining, and increasing confidence of employees, because success of any business organization depends upon the morale of its management, seniors, and workers, that is juniors. The manager tries to raise morale of subordinates by communication in vertical, that is upward and downward channels, and through horizontal channel, then good open communication which leads to cordial relationship between the employee and the group, and between the group and the organization. This leads to feeling of trust and confidence in fellow workers as well as the management. When orders and instructions are issued, the reason also should be known to the workers. If this is not done, grapevine, which as you know is rumors, it becomes active, and suspicion will replace trust and confidence, and consequently employees along with the management will be on low morale. Another effective measure in raising morale is use of consensus channel, that is involving everyone, including the workers, in the decision making process. It should be remembered that high or low morale is not a permanent feature of any organization. It fluctuates from year to year. The top management should always be alert and try to maintain morale high by maintaining smooth communication through various channels, free and frank discussion of all the problems of workers, expressing their appreciation and rewarding the good work done by the employee. Uh, Introducing any change, if it is there, then that should be done gradually so that the workers get accustomed to it, and rehabilitation of displaced employee or giving employment to the children of retired employees. These are the ways of raising morale. So morale is like a barometer and indicates the well-being of the organization, right? Now we'll come to the next objective, which as can be seen on your screen is persuasion. Persuasion in simple words is getting people to do something that they would normally not do if you had not convinced them to do it. Thus, to persuade somebody, the communicator needs special skill because it is an art of influencing the mind of the listener. You can persuade somebody only if you yourself are convinced about the thing, right? Always see to it that you do not impose or force your ideas on others, because persuasion, as I said before, is an art of influencing the mind of the listener. Generally, this art can be mastered by following 4 steps, as you can see on your screen. So, the first step of persuasion is to identify the problem. The superior must first study the situation and identify the problem area. The superior should also study the psychology of the person to be persuaded. Then the next step is preparing the receiver. Now this means the superior must discuss the whole situation from the receiver's point of view. This will give the receiver feel good factor, and they will not feel as if they have been forced to accept something which they otherwise did not want. Next is delivering the message, which means that with the help of arguments, the message should be delivered by the superior. At this stage, meaningful dialogues take place between the superior and the subordinates, or in other words, between the sender and the receiver. And the last one is prompting action. If all the steps are taken care of, the receiver of the message can easily be persuaded to change his or her views. Art of persuasion is an important technique for a salesman who cannot force and should not force customers to buy the product. But the salesman can definitely persuade the customers to buy the products. Similarly, even when it comes to employees, it is always better to persuade the employees into doing things, or telling them to adopt the new methods rather than ordering them to do it, which can demotivate the employees. We will now come to the next objective, which is, as you can see on your screen, education and training. Education and training are related to each other. Education means systematic training and instructions. Education and training is an ongoing process, and its purpose is to improve and increase knowledge and skill of all the employees. In a business organization, education and training is carried out at 3 levels. As you can see on the screen, education for the management. So managers and executives, they are also required to keep themselves updated with the latest development in market and industry. So they need to educate themselves uh, in this field by attending seminars, conferences, and meetings with experts. For managerial level, there is also education for succession, which means educating the junior level managers to enable them to take over the higher post whenever it is necessary. This is done under the supervision of seniors in the department. And the next is education for employees. This is for employees training programs for the employees for whom training is needed, which is either called as induction or orientation program. So they are basically to get employees familiar with the rules and regulations and also their technical know-how of the company. For senior employees who feel reluctant to adopt to the new technology and instead wish to work with the traditional methods, training programs are arranged as refresher course or reorientation course, which along with educating the employee, also motivate the senior employees. The other way of educating employee is through house journal, bulletins, and through newsletters. And the next is education for outside people. In this, all important and useful information about the company and its product is given to the consumers via advertisements, articles in newspapers, or electronic media. So you can see that education, as I said earlier, is a continuous and vital process in a business organization in order to achieve its chief aim, which is to make profit. So with this, we conclude this video lecture. But before we end, we'll recap the objectives that we discussed in this session. We began with raising morale, which is the individual as well as group spirit. Then we saw persuasion, which is the art of influencing the mind of the listener. And then we saw the last one, that is the education and training, which is the ongoing process in any organization. So with this, we conclude this video lecture, and in the next video lecture, we'll take the remaining 3 objectives. Thank you for attention. Namaste.